Welcome to part 4 of this mini-series of videos explaining how to set up and use BRAdmin Professional to configure and monitor brother devices over the internet through Microsoft Azure. In the first video, I explained how to create the necessary Microsoft Azure resources. A link to it is on your screen. In the second video, I then explained how to use these Azure resources when setting up BRAdmin, which, when used to manage remotely connected brother devices over the internet, is referred to as BRAdmin Master. A link to this video is on your screen. In the previous video, I explained how to create and install the client version of BRAdmin, which is one of two ways to get remote brother devices communicating with Azure. Again, there is a link to it on the screen. In this video, part 4, I will explain the alternative way by getting brother devices communicating with Azure direct. Please note that at some point you will need the blob and table URIs created during part 1. In the final video, I will return to the BRAdmin Master in order to view remotely connected devices. A link to this is on the screen as well as in the description, where you can also find links to parts 1, 2 and 3. Let's get started with part 4, where we need to download the following 2 CA certificates from DigiCert by visiting the following DigiCert address. For convenience, I have put a link to this in the description. The first certificate I need to download is the Baltimore Cyber Trust Root Certificate, as shown here. I need it in the PEM format. Next, I'm going to scroll down the page to find the DigiCert Root CA certificate. And again, I need it in the PEM format. I now have the following 2 certificates, which I am now going to upload to my brother device through its internal web server. Since I am not connected to it through HTTPS, I need to click the Open Secure Login button, which will display this security warning message. To move forward, I need to click the Advanced button. Please note that this button might look different in your web browser. This will reveal another button or link that I need to click in order to continue. Despite the surrounding warning message encouraging me not to continue, clicking it to access a brother machine is safe. Doing this will send you back to your brother machine's internal web page, as it does for me, where I will need to type in its admin password and click the login button. Once logged in, I now need to click the Network tab, followed by the Security sub-tab, and then finally the CA certificate option, where I will click the Import CA certificate button, followed by the Choose File button, where I will upload one of the 2 CA certificates I recently downloaded, and then click the Submit button. I am now going to upload the second CA certificate in the same way. And now I can see both of them. I can now configure the Azure settings by first clicking the Administrator tab, followed by the BRAdmin Cloud Connection option, and then select a pre-configured network profile. I don't have any network profiles configured yet, so need to click the Network Profile button in order to make one. And we'll select the first available network profile. I don't have any of them configured, so we'll click the first one. And then select the Azure option, followed by the Submit button. I need to give this profile a name. To keep it simple, I'm calling it Azure. This is so I can recognize it later. I will now copy and paste the blob and table URIs that I created in the first video of this mini-series. I have put a link to this video in the description. To save this setting, I will click the Submit button. At this stage, you won't be able to tell if they are working or not. You can do this in the next stage, which I am going to move on to right now. I now need to click the BRAdmin Cloud Connection button again from the navigation bar, where first I need to select the On option and then select the Azure network profile I just created. Finally, I will click the Submit button to save this new setting. My brother device is now trying to connect to my Azure blob and table. If your connection was successful, you will see this message, along with information about its last connection status. If your brother device did not show a connected message, the rest of this video will make some troubleshooting recommendations. The first thing I recommend is checking that your brother device can access the internet. One way to do this is to try checking for new firmware, which I can do by clicking the Administrator tab from the brother device's internal web server, then clicking the Firmware Update option. From here, I need to click the Check for New Firmware button. Don't worry if you don't actually want to apply any updates. All this button does is check if an update is found. Then it will ask you if you want to apply it. My device right now is checking for new firmware, which requires an internet connection. If you see a message that looks like this, or that new firmware has been found, it means that your brother device can access the internet. If you see a message that looks like this instead, it means of course that something is wrong. The next few steps can help troubleshoot this. I recommend you first check your brother device's date and time. I created a separate video that explains how to do this. A link to it is on your screen. If the date and time are correct, I then recommend you check your device's DNS settings. Again, there is a link to a separate video on the screen on how to do this. Should your DNS settings be okay, then I recommend checking your brother device's gateway. This is in exactly the same place as you would set an IP address. Should your brother device be able to access the internet, I then recommend you double check the blob and table URIs. Lastly, I recommend you check you downloaded and installed the correct CA certificates that I showed you during the first part of this video. Hopefully by following these steps, you can get your Azure connection working. If you still cannot, please contact your local brother office for extra support. Thank you for watching.